Anahaga. Welcome to Native Lands. I'm your host, Rochelle Coulee, and we have a wonderful guest speaker, author Jacquelyn Weis. Good evening.
Hello, everyone.
How are you this evening?
I'm doing well.
As I say today, but the day's almost over with. So, Jacquelyn is a author, and she is also a body emotion code practitioner, and has a little girl, and she's married to her husband Tyler Weiss. And I'm so glad that you're here today. I want to talk about your book called The Survivors. All of a sudden, my mind just went blank.
Healing the Survivors.
Healing the Survivors. Thank you, Jacquelyn. And 8 steps to healing, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was your inspiration for writing this book?
So, for those who don't know me, my background is in sexual and domestic violence awareness. And so when I was 14 years old, I was raped. And it really started me on this journey of self-healing and finding myself and my voice again. Because when those things and traumas happen in our lives, we tend to lose our hope. We end up not having this feeling of like freedom. And so through that journey of self-healing and going through that, trying to find myself again, I was able to heal fully, and I was able to really step into my full potential and where I am today through this process. And so as I was going through that journey, it inspired me really to help advocate for those who have gone through sexual and domestic violence. And in the past couple months, really is when I decided I was really going to start diving deeper into helping others who are going through those situations or are trying to come out of them. And so that's actually what started my journey on writing the book, Healing the Survivors, the 8 Steps to Healing Within, which comes out officially December 13th. You can also pre-order it right now. It's on Amazon. But really, what it was kind of COVID inspired me. It gave me this time to really focus on myself and where I wanted to see myself in the future. And then all of a sudden, I wrote a book. I am now a best-selling author. So that's really amazing for me right now. And so I'm really excited to see where this leads to next.
Congratulations. And you also have a Healing the Survivors group, which people can join on Facebook.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. Jacquelyn, can you take me or talk briefly about the 8 steps of healing? And I mean, it's going to take a while, I imagine, when you go through these steps, but would you like to talk about those 8 steps?
Yeah. So really, when I was sitting down ready to write this book, I wanted to kind of reflect on what I had to go through and how I ended up coming out of it, and have an amazing marriage. I am super excited about the future, and I have this destined to, survive. And so really that's kind of how I started this. So when I was going through this process, not only was I healing still while writing it, but it gave me this insight of, okay, if I was, back at my 14-year-old self, what did she need to hear? What was she looking for? And so that's actually how I started digging deeper, and through even meditating on what do people need right now to really heal themselves. Because oftentimes as survivors, we go through this journey kind of feeling alone in it. No one really talks about how to overcome it. They just kind of expect you to get there. So it's kind of leaves you this trail of being alone in that journey. And so the 8 steps is really just stepping into the first chapter, which is forgiveness. And I'm not saying to forgive that person who hurt you, but I'm talking about forgiving ourselves. Oftentimes as survivors, we tend to self-blame. We look within ourselves to find the reasons of why this happened to us. We also in society tend to blame the victim instead of support them. I mean, now it's kind of changing with the Me Too movement, but there's still so much work to do. Yes. And so now it's kind of taking that reflection off of ourselves and allowing us to be okay with the fact that, you know, I did nothing wrong. And loving yourself again is going to be the first step. And so when I was going through that journey myself, it was really like I would never truly heal if I didn't love myself, if I didn't forgive myself, if I kept blaming myself, it's going to hold me in that space. And so the first chapter is really on forgiveness, how to step into that, how to heal yourself in that loving way through forgiveness, and then also allowing yourself to, in the future, when you're ready, forgive that person as well. Because when we forgive people or we let it go in that sense, it gives us our freedom. It gives us that first step towards freedom, which will help you in the other chapters through my book. And so after you go through that, and when you're reading this, I really want you to take your time with it, because I'm not writing this book for you to rush through. It's not something you want to read in one day. It's really going to help you transform yourself as you do each chapter and go through each step. So the first chapter is on forgiveness. The next chapter is on spirituality and connection. So what happened in my life was more of the separation from myself. In Western medicine, they call it disassociation. In my energy healing, it's called a spirit out of body disconnection. But what this really means is when we go through intense trauma, and we go through a situation where our fight or flight response is triggered, our body naturally reacts. So what happens if you can't physically flee the situation? Well, your spirit's the next thing to disconnect. It goes into that freeze mode where if you were truly present in that situation, you would have passed away because it's so intense on the body and your adrenaline's kicking in. So the next thing is to disassociate. And so what happens when you do that is, well, now you have anxiety, now you have depression, now you have this feeling of not wanting to live anymore because your spirit's not present. It's not there. You're disconnected. And so for me, in my healing process, there was a moment in time where I was like, I'm not here. I'm not present in my life. I feel like I'm, maybe you guys feel like this too. Maybe you just feel like you're just existing. Maybe you feel like it's hard to be present in the moment because you feel so disattached from everyday life. So if you're listening and these are the things you're hearing, there's steps which I go through in my book of how to connect your spirit back to your body through meditation, through different grounding exercises, even going outside for a walk. So I talk through that process on how to connect back in. But then what also goes deeper into my next chapter 3, which is the connection with the universal energy. Because when we go through trauma, we tend to disconnect spiritually, which everyone does when they face something. Because, you know, if we aren't in that space, well, we tend to be like, well, I'm all alone. I have to do this alone. When in reality, you know, creator, God, whatever you believe in is there to support you. You just have to be willing and open to allowing that in. And I remember a time in my healing journey where I stopped praying. And, you know, the native culture, you go to ceremonies, you go to powwows, you go to all these different things where in that moment I completely left the native community because I couldn't do it. I couldn't handle the positive energy. It was too much. But then there was this moment where I had a dream And I was sitting there with these medicine people, and they were bringing me all of these medicines on how to help me. And then I realized that because of my disconnection, not only was I not able to heal myself, I couldn't heal my ancestors. I couldn't hear my ancestors speaking to me to help me get through my trauma. I wasn't able to connect with the creator to help me get through it, because in reality, that is your strength. That is what's going to help you endure what you're going through. And so it's allowing yourself to feel worthy is like the biggest part. So feel worthy of that connection again, because in reality, it's like you are worthy, and that's what they're there for, is to help guide you. So really, that's my next chapter, is how to do that, the importance of doing it, how it influenced my life by doing that. So I go deeper into that chapter as well. And then there's how to heal, of course, through releasing traumas from your body, through energy healing work, releasing trapped emotions and trapped traumas. And then going into the next chapter, which is reprogramming and repatterning yourself to leading to freedom.
Sounds like a great book for everyone to read, who not just about domestic violence and sexual assaults, but also there are so many other trials that everyone faces that maybe haven't done that healing yet. And maybe it sounds like even all of us could benefit from reading this book, but also we all know someone. And how we could help everyone in that journey of healing and supporting. I love what you have here is, I'm not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. It was a quote that you used. And you want to elaborate on that? What does that mean to you?
So oftentimes we're taught that because of our experiences, that's what we are. Oftentimes I heard that people try to put me in the box of being a rape victim and said, that's where you're going to be. That's where you're going to stay. You're going to live your life depressed for the rest of your life, and good luck. Not in my family, of course, but outside of that support system that I had, it was kind of like, you are that. That is you. And there was a moment in my life where it's like, I don't want to be that. I want to be someone else. Like, you kind of tend to look outside of yourself, and you look at everyone else, and like, these people overcame trauma, and they are not that. They're not defined by that. And so for me, that's what that meant, was like, I don't have to be defined by being a rape survivor. I don't have to I can own that title if it empowers me, but it doesn't mean that that's what I have to become. And so when I wrote that, it was meaning that if you take your trauma and you truly heal from it and overcome it, you can create a whole new life for yourself. You could become something else. You don't have to stay in that depression, that suicidal thought processes all the time. You can actually transition and become something else, which I feel like we don't talk enough about. I feel like we don't allow that transition to even happen. We just kind of like, oh, that's where they're staying. That's the vibration they're at. They're going to stay there forever. Well, let's all move on over here. When reality is, if that person truly had that healing work done, then they become something. They can be pulled out of that. And so that's really what that really means, is don't become that situation, that trauma. Allow yourself to look forward and have a reason why to survive this, and then push yourself to become that reason why.
It sounds so easy, but this sounds also so difficult.
It's not an easy process, I'm not going to lie to you, but it is very rewarding, because I remember at times where it was like the darkest days of my life, where it was hard to get out of bed in the morning. I didn't want to go out into the world. I isolated myself. I took to substance abuse and or not like alcohol, and then I went into like having suicidal thoughts. But that's not where I wanted to stay. And no one wants to stay there. I've never met a person who wanted to stay there. But, once you have that realization of, I don't have to stay here forever, and that there is hope for me. And really, it is finding that hope and holding on to it so strongly that will allow you to find the tools that you need. Right now you're listening to this video. So use this tool to help pull that out of you, and then allow yourself to have that process. Be kind to yourself as you heal through this. It's not easy, but if you allow yourself to open up, find a community, which you all are invited to join my survivors group. But finding that hope and allowing yourself to accept that you deserve the freedom is really going to allow you this process to become easier for yourself.
What do you say when we live in a society where it is get over yourself? That's, that was a long time ago. What do you say to that? Because it also happens for people with generational trauma. And how do you can't get over yourself. Like, I can't get over generational trauma as a Native American woman because it happened to my mother, and then it happened to my aunts, it happened to relatives, and then ancestors. And people say, get over it. That was a long time ago, but it still happens today. And that's where the missing Indigenous women comes about too, is that, it's a serious problem. Mm-hmm. So what do you say to those people who say it's not that big of a deal, or you should just get over it?
So I want to use this idea of, if you had a heart attack and your body's under extreme stress and pain, and you even have this idea of like, am I going to survive this? Because you did overcome it. But then what's the actions that you take from now on? Well, you're careful. You take life more seriously. You are trying to heal your body. You're trying to heal your mind. You're trying to heal your spirit. And so when you project that onto a survivor, someone going through extreme depression, kind of allow yourself to take something you've overcome. It might have been small. It could have been huge, whatever that is. But we get too caught up in comparing trauma to trauma, where I firmly believe all trauma is trauma. It doesn't matter what the situation is. And so when we allow ourselves to get out of that mindset of like, get over it, but everyone handles everything differently. Everyone takes things differently, where some are warriors and like, I'm going to pound through this. I got this. And then some are like, that literally just took my entire life away.
Yeah.
We can't, like, what was the most earth-shattering experience you felt? Maybe someone passed away. Maybe something happened to you. Did you get over it very quickly? And I mean, if you say yes, then you're lying to yourself. You suppressed it. But
it'll come out eventually.
Exactly. It will end up manifesting in your body, your mind. But really, when things happen, you can't just get over it. It is a process in the Native way. For grief, for example, it's a year. You have a year to cry and mourn and grieve and be angry and heal yourself. But then, doesn't mean you just get over it that year. It means you continue each day living and healing and moving forward. So in the Native community, when you have generational trauma, whether you believe in it or not, I mean, it's that trauma that is echoing in our people. And so we don't realize, but on that vibrational level and that frequency, right, those emotions are still lingering. You still have that panic, you have that shock. And so imagine having the trauma happen to you or someone. Well, now not only is it just yourself feeling that shock and panic, but now you have this ringing vibration of panic and shock that was inherited. And so, which makes it, I feel, for Native people, for example, overcoming these situations is 10 times harder than someone who didn't have that historical trauma, because you now are echoing from everyone else.
It intensifies those emotions.
Yeah, exactly. And so for people who don't understand, or you're trying to understand, it's not a day and night thing. It's a process that person has to grow through day by day, repatterning. Like, yes, I wrote a book, but there's days where I'm like, did I really like heal from this fully? Am I still like, what else do I need to move? Because we end up becoming that. And so it's a whole new way of living that you have to try to create for yourself. And so it's a slow process, but if you do it correctly and you take your time with it, then like imagine who you will be a year from now, and you look back and say, I'm so glad that I took that time to heal, and I didn't rush the process, and I didn't suppress my emotions, because then it's not echoing anymore.
Right. That's the thing, is it does echo. And then if you haven't done the healing and you've taken, till you're 50, 60, 70 years old, that will trickle into how you view things in your life and how you perceive people's trials and traumas. And also oftentimes parents don't know how to disassociate themselves from their children who are struggling and going through trials, because they hadn't done their own healing. And so it like makes the problem more intense when they haven't done that healing. So Jacquelyn, congratulations to you and your new book. And also, what a beautiful thing for me to witness. You're not, this is you stopped the cycle, in the family, and your little girl it's just going to be beautiful to see her grow and see what it looks like to have pure, awoken eyes. Her eyes are awake and awoke, and she is able to escalate in the way we're supposed to be as human beings, to really live that spirit being in the body and have that experience. That is what we all should be celebrating. We all should be celebrating this beautiful spirit of ours that we've been gifted, and to live to its fullest potential. And Jacquelyn, you're doing that very thing, and I applaud you for being brave, putting yourself out there, and calling. It's a calling for you, and to help our generations of people of healing, and all the brothers and sisters, because this is not just for women, men too. Men need their healing and support.
Yes.
So Shanner wrote, when wounded, the time is necessary to heal.
Yeah.
But no one will heal all the way here on this earth. This is why eternal life is important. Absolutely. Don't give up, right? It's a we grow all the time, but we can experience beauty on this earth, and we don't have to wait for eternity. We can actually do that. And that's what you're doing, Jacquelyn. I'm so excited. When is your book release again?
So it comes out December 13th, but you can pre-order it right now.
And I put on the link on Facebook, how they can reach you, and also the link to ordering on Amazon. And congratulations for being #1 seller. I think you might be our first author in the whole family. I'm not sure. I have to check it out. Besides storytellers, so you can't take that place.
No.
Okay? But it is so beautiful what you are doing, Jacquelyn, and I see much more happening for you in the future, in conferences, and just really being proactive and being the advocate for those who don't have a voice. Thank you so much, Jacquelyn. And we love you too, Shanner. Thank you, Jacquelyn. Do you have any? I know what I wanted to ask. I wanted to ask you one more thing. What is the impact that you want to bring to the world through your book?
So when I wrote my book, it was kind of like this idea that this could be that beacon of light. And as I wrote it, all I like imagined was one holding their hands as they go through the journey, like I would want for me if I was reading this. And so as I wrote it, I thought about all of the little fires that are igniting in the people that read it. And so honestly, if I could impact one person just from reading this, then my book did its job. I fulfilled what I wanted to. But what I love is that when they go through it, then they have a fire started in themselves. And then they'll go and start someone else's fire, and they'll start someone else's fire. And so it has this lasting impact, which is really the whole message of why I wrote my book, is so we can have hope in the world, especially today. And so for me, big impact is at least affect one person. And if I can do that, then I did my job. But then allowing it to expand into different avenues where maybe we implement this process in healthcare systems, how we treat people who've gone through domestic and sexual abuse, allowing me to create conferences where we actually have hands-on healing work and, energy work as well, and bringing in different modalities, because it's not just a one-stop shop in this book. It allows different avenues for you to expand yourself as well. So for me, it's just as long as I can help my Indigenous brothers and sisters and heal the next generations to come, then I fulfilled my job.
Well, congratulations. It's a beautiful thing that you're doing, and it's not just one. I've seen your support group, and there's many, many women and men who are on there within your group, and you're affecting many people, influencing and that healing process. So thank you so much, Jacquelyn. I appreciate it. Appreciate all of you viewers for joining us. Thank you for joining Native Lens. Have a great, wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.